This was the last dance of the night. Will you join me till the morning light? Dance the night away 'cause it feels right. You can't stop, no. You can't stop, no. You can't stop, no.
I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed.
You prospect now.
I prospect.
All right, guys, what's going on? I am the one, the only, the WOOKIE. Clearly, I'm not going to get this very simple thing that I ask for on a weekly basis, and that's fine.
Not this week.
Not this week, but we have we got the crew with us. We got Dr. Sheep, president of AABD,
president and founding member,
and founding member. We got Big Z.
Hey.
And we got Ewok.
Hello, Keyforge community. Great to be back.
He's always so rambunctious, that Ewok. Love it.
How can you not be rambunctious? We've returned with limited sleep.
I'm still exhausted.
New decks. I mean, we are exhausted, but this is joyous, boys. This is joyous.
So obviously, as you're reading, this is the post KFC, kind of our off the cuff feels.
Celebrations.
Celebration off the cuff.
Keyforge Celebration.
Oh my god! I don't even. Am I even needed here? No.
No. Let's just kick him off now. Can we? Let's just do that. You're gone.
That's cool. All right. So again, kind of initial feels. I kind of want to start and preface this. I thought a lot about this today, and I want to preface this in thanking Ghost Galaxies. This was Ghost. Yes,
There's no IES.
Can they add an IES just to make my life easier? Is that a possibility? No. All right. I just want to go ahead. I want to thank them. Obviously, this was a huge success. Like, I feel like it was a huge success. I had a lot of fun. Because I feel like we might throw fireballs a little bit, but like there's nothing. There's definitely some hiccups, some bumps, some. I don't even know what else to say. There's some things that need to get tightened up, but I do feel like eventually that will happen.
I think we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but I think it's happening right now.
It's happening, and it's minor. I mean, this is beta, so you allowed us to be able to come in to provide some feedback, to be able to
turn
participate.
Your speakers off.
And I will say that the community being able to see, there were new players there. There were players that are content providers. There were just general players. There were competitive players. The mix that was there was phenomenal, and the vibe from the whole group was just absolute excitement and joy. So, there's some comments, some feedback, but overall, it was, standing ovation. Well done.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think we all had a good time. We're all tired, but we all had a good time, right?
I'm fine.
Agreed. I'm fine.
I think he's still coming down from a win, but and he got some sleep in the car on the
flight home. Yeah, so whatever. I mean, he got 2 wins. He won Unchained, and then he won Archon, right? Archon, yes. Archon.
Can we talk about this? D, you had called that. Yeah, you were going to go ahead and really dig deep for your Unchained, and you just opened.
I think
fire to start. Fire.
It was literally like a month ago. I think the very first time they mentioned that there was going to be this Unchained side event with Unchained decks, I was like, Sheep said he was going to challenge me, which did not happen. I was like, this is my event.
Oh, there it is.
And then I rolled over and played dead.
I called it as far as like I'm definitely going to win this event. This is my event. No one is beating me at this event. And yeah, I proceeded to open probably I did actually see a couple of decks that are mechanically probably better than the deck I was playing, but I ended up seeing probably, I don't know, 50 Unchained decks as far as what was shown to me, what I saw playing, what people were talked about. My deck was the very, very first deck that I got was probably the second or third best deck I saw in the entire field, and I took it to the house all the way. I didn't play a single different deck. I went 23-3 for the day. Someone reported that I had 25. Maybe my count was off. Like I wasn't there at the end, so maybe they reported a higher number and I just lost count. Very, very possible.
I don't remember what the final count was, but yes, Z took it down. Moving forward.
What? That's all I get?
Yeah, that's all you get because your deck was absolute straight bananas.
I mean, we can talk about it. Like I had
Yeah, his deck is pretty exciting because almost 90% of what made it fire came from Woe.
Yeah, like that's one of the things I want to say before, because we're gonna have a whole episode on WoW later in the week. But my deck had 36 cards, just like every other deck, but only 8 cards were in that deck were not from WoW, and those 8 cards, like all but one of them, weren't that big a deal. Like the other 7, like I could have gone without 7. Only one of them was functional to what I was doing to win my games. So I basically was playing a WoW deck and taking people like most of my games were not very close. One of the fun things is I did have the Prospector. I've been talking about that token since the first time I saw it. It is definitely one of the best tokens. It might be the best token, but I actually don't think that, like, there are contenders that I wasn't aware of that were going to be contenders to it. But
We learned,
very,
like,
very
this is the first time I think we ever went to an event and learned as much as we did. Like, normally looking at a lot of the stuff we found out before, like, this will be good, this will be bad. And generally, like, we're online, right? I mean, there are some breakout cards, but, I mean, there are some ones that were like, this will be much better, and then it just flops, and vice versa. I think this is the first time where we were just like, oh, these are all things that exist, and these are all things, wow, didn't see that one coming.
We'll talk about it a lot later, and especially on Thursday. I think, like, there was a house, which I don't want to talk about on this cast. There was a specific house that we had been ragging on quite hard, that literally I think everything that was spoiled was only the bad stuff. So we'll talk about that Thursday, so tune in there if you want to hear about what house shocked the hell out of me.
Sanctum.
Right.
Spoilers. Whoa. We're coming back from Keyforge Celebration. We're leaving spoilers. I like this, boys. Good work.
We've done enough spoilers.
But anyway, real quick, my basically my deck had the Prospector, so it did exactly what I said it would. Like, you create this huge board. Your opponent has really no freaking clue what they are supposed to tactically do against you. And honestly, after seeing people play against it, to this day, I played 26 games with that deck. I still cannot tell you what the right answer is. I'm going to need 100 games against Prospector, and just that token alone to be able to come back on this cast and tell you, this is what you do. Because right now, I have no idea what the answer to that puzzle is. Because I was generating a ton of tokens, and then they would go to their turn and be like, if I kill them, you reap... I gain a ton of cards. If I don't kill them, you reap 6 every turn.
Yep.
All right, now pause here. I'm sure lots of our audience know, but in case someone doesn't, the cards he's talking about... Ewok Bot's here. Prospector, it is the token creature, one of the 4 token creatures from House Aquidon. It has 1 power, token creature, human, destroyed, draw a card.
Yep, very simple, straightforward. And this creates this conundrum, killing things on your turn of your opponents and making them draw cards gives them a much better advantage than them drawing cards on their own turn, because they get to see their hand, then make the house call. Drawing a card out of turn is worth at least twice as much as drawing a card in turn. So it creates this very, very complex Keyforge puzzle. It's one of the things we like about Keyforge. And then the big other highlights of my deck, I could generate a ton of tokens. I had mass buyout, literally a combo we talked about on the show. What happens if you have a ton of Prospector tokens? You win the game. That's what happens. You draw a bunch of cards, you gain a bunch of amber, you kill all their creatures. You don't care that they gain amber because you have your whole hand. Yeah, they'll probably forge a key that turn, but then you go to your next turn and you wreck them, unless they were about to forge their 3rd key or something. Lots of other fun stuff. Maybe we'll have a Patreon episode where I just go through the deck tech of that. We've never done that, but that could be a thing. It's a really, really cool deck that got formed, and it literally can be made in WoW.
All right, let's go into staff. So we got to meet we got to meet more. I was gonna say we got to meet most of the staff. We got good talks in with Jeremy. We got good talks in with Michael. I didn't unfortunately get a chance to talk to CTP. I don't think he likes me because I call him CTP. It's possible. I don't know. Did either of you guys really get the opportunity to talk to him or not? No? Yes?
I got about a minute in when I saw Drazkor talking to him, and I'm like, oh, I can go ruin that conversation. And I succeeded.
And promptly did.
Yep. And it's like, I got to go talk to the, he kind of looks around, kitchen staff and water.
He knew the fireballs were coming.
You know?
I did get to talk to him for about 2 minutes. It was pleasant. I could tell he was a little bit distracted with the event. That was
a lot going on.
Day 2, I think. But I don't remember who I was with, but I was with someone else that I was talking to before he walked up, and we both started talking to him. But before we walked away, I think it was Vargas. We met him in Kansas City. He plays a lot online. Before he walked away, he asked Christian if he could take a picture, not with him, but with both of us. So
AC and CTP in the same room. I gotta get a picture of this.
It was a little weird. So
you know who I would have loved a picture with? CTP and Dan.
That would have been great.
Just Sheep
but
and Christian together.
A picture of me with Christian Peterson. So that's cool. Vargas, I don't know if you listen to the show, but if you have that, please send me that picture. I would like to see that.
So CTP said he would play games that weekend. I don't know if he actually did, but I think we did miss big time in not getting him over to Shredder.
That would have been cool. I witnessed and watched Michael Hurley play a game against Sydney.
Yeah,
that was really cool to see.
Yeah, Michael played a game against Sydney. We also got a pitcher, and I believe that was Sheep, you, I, and Caffeine Buzz took it with Michael Hurley as well. So there is AC with some of the staff members floating around.
There's proof our poison has made it.
Yes, I got really good conversations with both Michael and Jeremy. Yes. I know, Z, you were a part of the conversations that I had with Michael.
Michael seemed like a great guy, very open to feedback. I got to give the staff that because this is our reaction to the staff. They, in the keynote, which we'll talk about here in a second, they mentioned that they wanted feedback, and it's a business. We all hear all businesses say that, right? But when I was talking to either Michael or Jeremy, they were very receptive of the feedback that was being provided, not by just us because of who we are or whatever, but they were receptive to all feedback from everyone I talked to that put their 2 cents in, from the most known members of our community to the least known members of the community. They were open to having those conversations, and I feel like everyone I talked to felt listened to by what they were telling me about either a conversation with Jeremy or Michael, or I think a few people were able to talk to Francisco.
I did.
And all of the other staff that was there. I believe the person I had turned in my Unchained wins, he was like, oh, he gets another win. I think Alex, he was fun to just chit-chat with back and forth. I never got there was another guy that was running the Unchained booth, as far as wins. I never got his name.
I think he was the manager of the Game Center.
I never got his name.
Manager.
But he was super nice too.
Yeah.
At the one, I think around my 19th or 20th win, he's like, "You're never gonna get another Unchained deck." I was like, "It's fine. I'm here to win this event." And he gave me a ticket so I could go buy another one, which I ran out of time on day 3 to buy. So I literally, in my collection of swag that I got from the event, I actually have a ticket to buy another Unchained deck still on me. So that's funny. It's there. That I'm gonna keep it as memorabilia.
Maybe you can send it in.
I would rather keep it at this point. That wasn't. I didn't get that for a loss.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, for the first time in a long time, with Keyforge at least, I feel like when I had a conversation, I had not to mention it was more even into some of it was more maybe not all revolving around Keyforge, right? Where normally when it was with, and nothing against Josh and Alex and some of the other guys, it was very much business, just business. We don't talk about anything unless it's revolving around business. And, I had a good kind of chit chat with Michael and Jeremy that had nothing to do with Keyforge, which was, it's like, oh yeah, they are human. Yeah, that's right. Okay. These people do, they're human, right? But for the first time in a long time, I felt like things and feedback, because it wasn't just like a one-sided conversation where it's like, I think this, I think that. This is what we've realized. We got dialogue back, and not only did we get dialogue back, we then got like they were asking us questions where I was like, oh,
Yeah.
he actually heard me, and it wasn't just like, oh, send me an email.
It did feel like I was able to have a real discourse with, especially those. So Jeremy and Michael were very, very open to having an intelligent dialogue that actually, in the end, like the fight, I know guys here, but like this whole podcast is like, yes, we talk about stuff about what FFG, but all any of us ever want is this game to literally be as big as it possibly can be. That way, everyone in the world can just play more keyboard, right? That is like a side agenda for our little cast here. I think.
Yeah, that's always been the goal of this cast, right? To make Keyforge,
and none of us ever got the feel that FFG cared.
Absolutely.
They're just selling decks. They don't care if people are actually playing the dang game. They just slinging money, printing paychecks, and then they dropped us. That's the feel I got. And I talked to Josh a lot back in the day.
Yep.
But all those conversations did feel one-sided. They did feel like I'm talking to someone that is doing a job and is somewhat handcuffed in a way by the constraints put on them because his decision power was limited. It
might have been, decision power is limited. Not only that, they felt very open to we can change that. Even just in our Discord, right? We have a whole Unchained, I guess, breakout. I really don't know what to call it now, but breakout where Michael Hurley's been very active over there, right? He's been talking about certain things and just kind of like, oh yeah, that's doable. This is doable. Yeah, that's doable. No, that's not doable. And here's the reasoning why. No, that's not doable. Here's the reasoning why. That's doable. I think he's been very accommodating.
Yeah, he's been really open with some of the ways that what we call the algorithm, but the deck generator works. Actually it'll answer some, lightly technical questions about how stuff works and why things do or don't happen, which really helped you understand why we see what we see in decks and things that are going on. And when you ask some questions that's not really within its current tool set. But it does sound like, when they rebuilt it on their new engine. So it definitely has more tools in it than the original deck generator had.
And it may or may not be backed up. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Let's move into the goodie bags. You guys can check out the goodie bag opening over on our YouTube channel. I did open everything I got in the goodie bag for you guys. Over there, it is in our videos now. I don't know if it has a very good thumbnail, but it is over there. So, what'd you guys think? I thought the goodie bags were fine. They were good.
Find our audience what was in there, because
so in there you got a mat. You got the very special Keyforge Celebrations 2022 mat, which it sounds like Keyforge Celebration will be a thing that happens yearly. Just from the sounds
and
of it.
As far as we know, that mat will not be represented anywhere else.
As far as we know.
Okay.
It does say Keyforge Celebrations 2022 on it. So
yeah, I know that not everyone here is a big fan of mats. I will say I thought the design, I really liked the teal color that was there. I enjoyed the design that was happening, the multiple representations of the houses that are on the mats coming from the Crucible. I thought it was a great token piece, and we saw people playing with it there.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, it had a wide range of people who are brand new to people who are just in the game center seeing it played.
Right.
Were able to go ahead and kind of witness and watch it.
I had to flex and bring out my Keyforge Live mat.
Goodness.
A good chunk of the players I played against were playing on that mat, and they seemed very happy with it.
Yeah. We got, let's see what else we got. We got 2 normal Winds of Exchange decks.
Woo, there's nothing. There's nothing normal about Winds of Exchange.
Well, we got 2 I don't know what you want to call it.
Celebrations
Stock?
2022 unique box package Winds of Exchange decks,
Wait,
including
there's one more word to that.
errors, commonality errors, and deck list name errors. These are very special.
And
they're
cards from other
unique.
decks.
They're beta.
But yeah, Ewok's got it on put the nail on the head for me. Like, there was a big to do about first print run Coda, and there was like a lot of that. The decks that we just got in our goodie bags and as prizing are like first alpha print decks as far as the decks that you can actually play in the world, because you can take these decks and one day play in a real event because they've got a code. They're real decks. This is like super first print. And you could say it's literally the first OP playable decks that GG produced for Keyforge ever.
Yep.
Do you think they could find something wrong enough in this where they would have to be like, yeah, we're not going to be able to allow those into standard tournament play and be like, everybody you got you're going to get 2 for 1?
It's possible.
I think that's theoretically possible, but I mean, like, we saw most of them. Like, we saw a lot of them were played, right? Like, a lot of the decks were open for Alliance. A lot of them were open for Sealed.
Yeah,
and
I guess we didn't see anything that seemed
crazy.
No,
like 1-turn kill guarantee stuff.
No, there wasn't anything that was major. I will say there was a minor glitch. That's actually how I was very lucky to be able to talk to Francisco, main programmer. The first WoW deck that I opened, super excited. I was waiting for my ABR match to start. We were trying to decide whether it was going to be WoW or Unchained, and I just couldn't wait as they were finishing up playing, some standard decks. I will give credit. The GG staff kind of opened that up early. We were waiting, and they're like, "Hey, we're ready, so come on and grab your decks."
Definitely had nothing to do with the fact that Wookiee already had a bag open and was taking pictures.
That would have nothing to do with it.
Nothing.
But my first deck that I opened had an extra card, and that extra card was labeled with a different deck name, but it was right on top. It was very, very odd. It was separate from the deck, and
so somebody's third house was Sanctum, and you got their card.
Yes, and I got their card. Now that deck, I will say, was pretty spicy. That was one of the better decks that I opened for the weekend. It was a lot of fun, but that led to a conversation with Jeremy. Hey, if someone's missing this deck, this card, I have it. And I'm like, what do you want to do with it? And then we kind of went back and forth, and basically I was going to hold it. Then we went off to the side, and I started to try and record, and he came and said, hey, can we take this back? And that's opened up a conversation with Cisco. They're still working through that, but honestly, I think it was only Sydney and myself that ended up having the 2 glitches. So small pool.
It does look like, and in our Discord, Michael Hurley had said that there was reports of somebody getting I guess it was just Unchained decks with only half a gigantic creature.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You see, like, that's part of what I thought Unchained was going to be. It was just like you could get just total dumb too. Although it sounds like he put a lot of time in preventing really, really unplayable jank from showing up.
Yeah. I think it was also Vargas, actually, because I played an Unchained match against him. His deck did not have a token, and it was an Unchained deck, so no tokens, which is fine.
No, Car's first deck was that way too.
Yeah.
So no. Like, let me finish. Like, but the deck itself actually had 2 cards in it. One did something with tokens, but didn't generate a token, and then later we found a card that did generate a token. So we did go, like, we actually talked to, I think it was Christian, and then Michael walked up at that point, because that's how Vargas and me were actually talking to Christian in the first place. So we did report that, and they actually wrote down in their notes, so they logged what that was. They even offered him, they offered Vargas to switch, a new deck to switch. He decided to keep it because it was actually pretty good in spite of that. So that's another thing that'll be addressed. So those decks that we have, and they did confirm, because this is something that y'all, I think, had disagreed with you on the cast. They do have WoW set up, so a true WoW deck, not an Unchained deck, cannot be generated without a token. I got that confirmed from Michael early.
I don't know if we disagreed with you. I just think
someone definitely did disagree with you.
I said I could see how that could happen, and I was wondering if it would be a thing.
It is confirmed it cannot happen.
So what you're saying is you found a print error in Michael Hurley's work, and you're like, Christian, Michael Hurley screwed up. That's what was going on?
That is not what I said. I was near.
That's what I heard.
We reported to Jeremy, and that is when they walked up, and then we talked to them too. Anyway, but yeah, so like that, we had a good talk about that. So it does look like even that is something that is not intended or will be happening in Unchained in the future. So like these first print run decks are going to be unique in a kind of first print run Coda way. Because like back in the day, you could get like the sacrificial altar, no humans. You could get the bear flute with no bears. Like there was all kinds of stuff in Coda first print. Names that no one ever wanted to see on a deck. Didn't see any of that.
Yeah. Did you see Drazkor's first one?
No.
Now I don't know where to find it. It was like.
Well, Jaskor will share with us on Thursday.
Yes. Yeah. It was pretty on point for being a drug dealer deck.
What?
Well, to shift us from that amazing topic, I will say that I found it interesting when we were talking with Michael Hurley in regards to why Aquadon seemed to come out more often in the decks than in others. And what I found, and this was with the Unchained, that for Unchained, they simply put in each of the different houses that were possible. So as House Aquadon only shows up in WoW, it had a higher probability of being chosen because it was still put in an equal amount for the other decks. And so that was interesting.
I don't understand what you just said there.
Yeah,
so I don't see how that seems like it would make it less.
No, it's not based on the cards. It's actually when you're taking your three houses, House Aquadon was put in at an equal rate along with every other house. So with Dis, with Mars. And
you're saying you thought you're going to see it less because it's only been in one set.
Correct. I thought that it would actually lean it a little bit more towards, how often does it show up or how many cards are in the card pool? But it actually just was equal representation, which I found interesting. And the other item that showed up, there were a number of Unchained decks that did not have a token. And that's primarily because all three houses were from older sets and they were not part of the new set. Now, if they showed up in the new set, then you got one of the tokens from the set. So those were just
only if you got a token generator.
Yes.
Only if you got a token generator, but that was a high probability for the token generator. It was interesting to see those little nuggets that were kind of given or shared regarding the formation of those Unchained decks. Anyway, we're talking.
Unchained is awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Other things that were in. So we had 2 Unchained decks. We had 2 WoW decks. You also were able to go ahead and there was a 2020 OP prize support. It was a plastic Keyforge box.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also present.
It was fine. I understand they probably got those from whatever, was left over from FFG. And this is nothing on them. They did feel slightly less quality than the previously made deck boxes.
I love those boxes.
Take that for what
I don't
it's
know
worth,
what you're talking about. Like
that just felt more cardboardy and less plasticky. Like it didn't feel as heavy duty as the one that they released in previous years. But that's nothing on Ghost Galaxies. What do you mean?
You are alone in this, sir.
I mean, I have them both behind me right now. I have previous Gamegenic boxes and that. I can find them and comparison. That sounds like our next Patreon episode.
Yeah.
I mean, let's compare 2 plastic deck boxes.
I don't know. That's just was first reactions, and that's what we're doing, boys.
Yeah.
First reactions.
But another thing I didn't open, so I don't know, actually.
But as I'm getting pinged here, Lokar's pointing out, these are Gamegenic Gemini deck boxes, and they were meant for the 2020 primes.
Correct.
And they are labeled that way. You also saw the chain tracker that was intended for the 2020 primes. And so there were quite a few things that everyone got a chance to walk out with, which was really nice.
Yeah, it was nice to show up and for them to be like, here's a goodie bag, right? Like that. I don't know.
Did you say there were, I think you said there were 2 on-chain decks. There was only 1.
No, 1 Unchained deck, 2 Winds of Exchange decks.
Yes.
Yeah. For everybody.
And then you got
everybody.
And then you got the little card. And again, you can go watch the video of the me opening it all with Drazcore. Just kind of explaining the rules of the Unchained duels. After we got all that and everybody got some games jammed in, we went into the keynote, which we learned a bucket of information in.
We did. So people could actually watch the keynote in its entirety. So
You
I
can
think
again
we're
watch
we're
it.
not going to go through everything it had. This is just our reaction.
Let me plug our damn channel. Jesus.
What?
You can again watch this
channel.
on our YouTube channel, Archons Corner. The keynote is in there. So you can go watch. Yes, I recorded I live streamed the entire keynote. So you can go watch that over on our YouTube channel.
What's YouTube?
Something for us young people to see.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great stream. We were in the second row. You get to see the back of Lokakar's head, and
the whole time.
we were able. We did try and keep it panned so that you could see what was on the screen versus Christian T. Peterson when he was talking. But at a certain point, we do shift it over. But I thought you did a great job with the stream. Fun, good information too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is reactions to it. So, Sheep, reactions to the keynote.
Well, like the biggest thing to me was they announced OP.
Yeah.
It seems very, very aggressive, both in what they're promising and timeline.
I agree.
Yes.
I am super excited for the goals. It does seem for a very, very small company, they are going to be very hard goals to achieve. But we're, I don't have the pictures up in front of me, but I think I pretty much got it by memory. We're looking at localized store play coming up. Actually, no, I don't have it by memory.
So very first was going to be, I believe, store championships, correct?
No, first level was whatever they called it, and Vault Keepers, and Joker's very sad that Vault Keepers has now been jankered from him, which is store level and like group level play events.
Yep.
So that's the first level. Then the second level was store champs. Then there was regionals. Then there was nationals. And then there was worlds, right?
Oh yes,
And,
you're
and then
correct.
off to the side is Vault Tour.
Yes.
Yeah. I think like one of the important things to react to is like there's a level of event where any player can organize. You will have to contact GG in some way we do not know yet, but it's called the Keybringer. Any one of us could do that, whether it's like through our local community, if we play in a store or out of a store. But that is like community involved people doing that. And then they have like what would used to be your regular weekly chainbound or bi-weekly chainbound, as will now be called Vault Keeper events. But that has to be run through a store or at least some kind of official entity.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all that's implemented. That's for a future cast, right? We just want to do initial highlights, and I just like they got. I mean, like really, they got 4 weeks at this point to have that put together, announcement made, and me to be able to like order it and get it there if I'm supposed to start this in January.
Sure, that's what I mean. Like that's what we should have been going to as far as like the aggressiveness of it, and then like it's just nonstop, and that's beautiful. Like it goes from store champions immediately to regionals, then nationals, and then worlds. And they did actually talk about their involvement, which we'll talk about a lot in the cast. Like it does sound like their involvement is mostly the nationals, worlds, and vaults.
Yes.
And they will be less personally involved in
regionals and store championships.
Well, store championships, I expect them to be like before they send kit.
Right.
If we do everything else, but like, I am very interested in what regionals can and will look like moving forward. Because like even though what like we as a team, the AC team did with Keyforge Live would be more of a national level or vault type event. It definitely sounds like they're looking for like us type of community people to step up and assist with the regionals.
So a couple things that I want to add on for our community. If you haven't seen it, I posted it right now in our AC live chat, but I do really enjoy the the breakdown between casual and then what they called official. So casual was what was talked about earlier, Z and others from that key bringer. That is in your own local. That is honestly at your own table. So clubs, they have Vault Keeper events, which are there, and those are happening year round. But what I think needs to be added is that from the store championships, if you win your store championships, you're going to get a buy at regionals. And if you win your regional,
I figure we talk about that more on the upcoming show where we kind of dive deeper.
It was almost done.
All right,
you have been done by now.
All right, fine.
I mean, basically, it's if you're getting a buy from regional, if you win regional, you get a buy at national. And if you get a win nationals, you get a buy at worlds. And that has
No, you do not get a buy. That is
sorry, you get you get one invite if you win your nationals. I apologize in the last one.
That's a big difference.
That is a big difference in going through. The prize pool was significant that's there. I think what's really neat to know for us is that national championships for the US, they've already announced it's happening for Gen Con. So that's something to kind of put on your calendar to look forward to be able to block off. And those are important dates to be able to know.
They even said Worlds was going to be in November at Game Center where we just were. So, like, if you get an invite or you make it there somehow, some way, it's probably going to be around the same time in November next year. Like, it can't be too close to Thanksgiving. So, like, you're looking week 1, week 2, November, and that's going to be
probably right around where we did it. Right at like that 10th to the 14th.
There's not much wiggle room in November because you're getting too close to Christmas, too close to Thanksgiving.
I'm gonna steal some Drazcor thunder there because he hit a little bit of this with Peterson when he was talking to him. Is that Peterson sees the World Championship event being more like as he said, a Wimbledon level event where it's more about prestigious and smaller event rather than a huge tournament, right? So the invite pool is going to be smaller, and he's seeing 300 to 400 people max at the world's level event. So it's going to be, he wants the invites to be
matter.
Yes, to be valuable, not just everybody and their brothers got one.
Right.
Which literally was how it was last time. Oh, you got 2 friends? Bring them.
Yeah.
So you got 2 friends. You showed up at a store. You could probably have an invite.
They are also bringing back Vault Tour, which was a big deal, and we got confirmation that there will be 4 Vault Tour events. I can't remember the dates they put on the Vault Tours. Does anyone remember those? It was happening within 2 months. All 4 were happening within 2 months.
All 10 are happening within 2 months. June, July, all 10 Vault Tours, 4 of them in the U.S., guaranteed or promised or intended, however you want to say that, and the rest national? Or not national, but worldwide. Potentially. We don't.
International.
Yes, thank you for finding words because I am the dumb. So that's, I already saw a lot of excitement about that they expect Italy will have one and Germany would potentially have one, something probably
South Pacific.
Yep.
I would assume
maybe
Europe
we
would
get to go to
4.
Canada?
Maybe. Yeah, I was going to say, I would assume Europe would get 4. And then you would have one South Pacific, like JR said, and you would have one like Canada.
Or does South America get one?
That could be too. That very well could
I'm
be.
curious. That's all speculation. So I'm just excited that there's going to be 10 different Vault Tours. They're all going to go ahead and lead to an invite to the World Tour. So that's the section that you'd be bringing in. They're also putting together a prize pool of $10,000 for each of those Vault Tours. And for going ahead and winning our Worlds, the World Championship, there's a $50,000 prize pool. So together, all of those events is $150,000 in prize money. And that is something that when we look at, it is very ambitious that we had looked at in the past, and it's exciting for many, many individuals. I think there's some nervousness around it, but our community has been absolutely phenomenal. And I think this is a way to be able to increase exposure for the game for sure.
Well, and for youth joining the game, all the Vault Tours, all 10, whether they're here or across seas, are in June, July. So if you work in education, you have kids that are normally in school, they are all at a time frame where you are potentially available to travel to them in an easy, more convenient way. Like those vaults being in June, July allow all three of my family to go to there without having to fly to them, which is the biggest expense when you want to take a family to something like this. Like that is drastically less expensive. So hopefully we get more youth players this coming summer than before. We literally just had a 16-year-old make top 4 in Archon. Like that is amazing. So I would like to see our community grow both in number and diversity as far as like all ages.
I'm just saying, I need these locations sooner over later because I got vacation to be planning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's everyone. Everyone has that.
I mean, regionals.
Yeah, but I want to know what other countries I get to go to.
I do not know if I can go to another country.
Yeah,
again,
I don't think I can afford to go to another country this year. But
that was very expensive.
So then we get into kind of we got cookies and coffee afterward.
Yeah, they gave us food.
Yeah.
And that allowed them to set up the
right
the space that we were going to game in. But that was really nice. That was a surprise.
That was super nice. I think I got a handshake from someone at FFG once. In comparison. But I'm not sure about that.
I got some stun token cards from FFG. They're real nice.
Oh, I guess they did used to give out those acrylic amber that everyone loves. Like that was a thing. People did love that.
I will say there was no pin, and I do feel it's slightly missed from all the other cool Keyforge events I've been to. That I've got lots of pins from.
We did talk about it one time, like they might like be trying to separate themselves like distinctually. I doubt that's what would have chose them not to have a pin. Like
they used the same exact Vault Tour logo.
Fair enough.
Like it is the pin is the logo.
All right,
wow.
Gigi, if you're listening to this,
we
metal
like the
pins that are like 1 inch by 1 inch, doesn't matter the shape, that say something to do related with the events we're attending. Dan is one of these people, but I met multiple people that had these attached to either their like quiver that they had, like with glue and stuff, or their Keyforge bags that they had. Like this was actually a like chase collectors type thing that I think a lot of the community appreciated like way more than like a mat or something like that. Some of them pinned them to their mats. Like it was a thing. I think
Dan pins to his mats.
It was more than Dan. It was definitely more than Dan.
All right, fair enough.
But my mat does have bling. I only bring that out when I want to scare people.
It sure has at least 3 pieces of flair, that's for sure. bonus points for whoever gets the reference there. All right, let's move.
Space.
All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes. The events, right? We had Sealed Alliance, we had Sealed, we had Alliance, we had Archon, we had Unchained, we had Keyforge Adventures going on, and Second Ember for all the aforementioned events. Now, I think here's where maybe a little bit of the fireballs are going to happen. So, coming in...
Before we talk about any of the main 4, we can address that now, and then we can go through reactions to the actual events separately, because that is different.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about setup, construction, and how the events were run. So, setup, it was run through challenge, or challenge, depending on how you want to say it. Challenge is the proper way to say it. Now, I thought it was a good yet bad idea. The nice thing about challenge is, hey, we set up, everybody was on their not hovering around 2 to 3 boards to find out what table am I at, where am I going, who am I playing, all this stuff. It was on your phone, which was nice. Yes. I was also terrified because it was on challenge, which has the ability to just
crash.
Right, yep. Crash, and then
we've never seen it crash in a double elimination bracket, which we'll talk about not today.
Yeah.
So I have run a lot of events, and I have never seen challenge break in a double elimination format, and that is what was used. So, like, as far as that goes, because challenge was literally built for like single and double elimination events, and everything else that's in challenge now came much later.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like challenge bread and butter. Like challenge was designed by a person that needed it for this, and it worked perfectly for that. As far as their choice to use that, and there are other things we can talk about as far as that being the format that was picked.
You guys talk there. I think we talk high, low, Buffalo for my class. That's the good and the bad. For me, I want to get that elephant off the room. The communication for the event was, in my opinion, their weakness. They did not have a commanding voice that was there. Duncan, I dearly missed you. And that's nothing against the judges. It's just a different personality when it's a teacher voice commanding the room saying, hey, gather around. This is what's going to happen. And here's where things are going to go ahead and progress from. I felt a little pressured because things were consistently running late from the talk kind of through the rest of the events. And that might have been why there was no setup player meeting. But this idea for using challenge, I actually had someone who came around to say, hey, look at challenge. Those are things that just need to be cleaned up so that all of our new players coming in know exactly what to do, how to report, where to go through, and what to kind of expect. So it's minor, but we want to make sure that you have loud commanding voice. I need your attention. Here's what we're going to be going through. And then people can follow. And the rest of the weekend, honestly, was pretty good from the players. They were able to use QR codes for turning in their game results, which was different from the slips. But to be honest, once we knew what was happening, it actually worked out well. I was a little nervous of like, ooh, are we going to get anyone who's going to report poorly? Or like, there are options where it could have been tainted. But to be honest, there wasn't a single person that I heard about who did it. They had a little check marks of like, do you agree? It was a little weird where I'm like handing my phone to the person, like, do you agree? Let's scroll down. But to be honest, it was nice to have the technology of it porting into a Google form. And I think that cleaned up versus having to go ahead and manually type it in between rounds. So that was nice. It just needed to have execution of here's the communication, here's what you got to do and how to do it.
Because I think the biggest thing too, and sorry to cut you off, the biggest thing too is, all right, so I'm finishing up my first game. My round one on Sealed Alliance was against Philly. And so we're like, all right, let's report. We cleaned up all of our stuff and put everything away and then scanned the QR code. And now we're being asked all these questions. How many keys
we didn't know we needed to answer? Like that wasn't it.
How many keys did you forge? How many Ember did you have left over? Did you mulligan?
Did you have chains left?
And I was like, me and Philly are looking at each other. I'm like, did you mulligan? I don't remember if I mulligan. I think I mulliganed. And then it was like, how much Ember did you have left? Do you remember? How much Ember did I have left? Obviously after round one, it was known what needed to be done. This
just says your ability to track game state is pretty suspect.
Well, you say that, Cheap, but there was at least one game where I had someone essentially scoop because the game was done. And so how do you report that?
We did actually have to ask the judges because I did scoop a game.
How many Ember did you have remaining?
In that game?
Yeah.
0, because that's why I scooped. I was 0 keys, 0 Amber.
Did you mulligan?
To his 2 keys and a bunch of Amber and 15 creatures on the board.
Did you mulligan?
I mulliganed all but one game.
Did you have chains?
I never ended a game with chains.
Now you're just showing off, and I don't appreciate that.
I went ahead and
you just be making crap up. What do you know?
Yeah,
this is also true. Say,
I asked because I was curious, like, why was this there? It was just for data collection. They were more curious. It did not impact the tournament structure at that point for being able to make it into essentially day 2. But it was just more they were curious, okay, what was the impact on mulliganing? What was the impact on did you finish with chains? So I wasn't too worried about the data, but it was a data collection.
Guys, we need to stop everything we're doing. And I want everybody to look into who's the audience right now.
I'm the audience?
No, who's in the audience right now?
Cloggin is in the audience?
No.
B-Hawk is in the audience.
No. What did you walk away from your computer?
Custodian is in the audience.
Oh, goodness.
I'm just looking at a ton of little icons.
Joker is in the audience.
Okay.
Joker doesn't listen to podcasts ever.
He's too good for us.
It's too good for us.
Well, we appreciate that Joker's here, along with all of our other loyal.
Yes.
Joker,
fans
if I
and
ever
listeners.
see you, I'm giving you a hug. I might also have some Sanctum stuff for you. Just saying. I might have kept you in my thoughts, my guy. But communication was, yes, like there were times where like you could see like this is a person that is saying something to me about the event I'm currently in, and I have no clue what he just said. Like not even a little bit.
The speakers were not up to the task in that room. That is true.
Right.
I mean, which is kind of hard to do without a mic. They did actually have a mic thing, but like they weren't going to get
They
it.
had a giant screen. They could have just put the information up there. Like
this is
we
also
can read. Text is good.
Yeah. It is important to know that like a lot of this was discussed to them, and we mentioned this earlier in the cast.
Yeah.
Like they were very receptive of this feedback. Like they know that this was an issue, and I think,
they were not defensive, saying like everything was fine. They're like, "Yep, we'll figure out what to do."
I do feel like 95% of what we're talking about and what we will talk about in detail at some point is literally already addressed. But like that's a big thing to see. Like we know they were using this as the testing grounds for like what their OP events are going to be moving forward, iron out the kinks and make adjustments. But to see they were like literally doing it that they're like on the floor with us was encouraging.
Yes.
Well, I think Z, you were the person who talked about when your game was being streamed later on, or like the top booth, like the games that were being streamed. Someone had said, "Hey, let's put it up on the big giant screen," and they responded very, very quickly. And so all of a sudden, those players are no longer huddled around you. We were in the other room, and it was in a big giant screen. That was immediate feedback. And again, that's Ghost Galaxy has been doing a really great job listening. And then, okay, what can we do? And they incorporate it if they can. And that was awesome. It was phenomenal to see that. Like it was a big giant event. We're watching the hand, and it's a slight delay, but it was very minimal.
What Jared's referring to is like Nova and me are in the finals for Archon. We're sitting down. It's like we've been friends for a long time. We've been on SAS forever. Like that has never happened. We've never had like a SAS versus SAS final. We talked about it forever, and like everyone was starting to crowd around our stage. Like it was getting to be a lot of people, and like someone was like, "Is there somewhere I can just go watch this?" And I heard that because I'm setting up the keys and everything. And like I could see like Hurley standing in the place where he could see both areas because there's other events still going on or something. And I was like, I waved. I was like, "Hey, can you put this on the screen?" Like, and he immediately like walked off, and I could tell that that's what happened in the other room just from like the noises and stuff. So like, I knew. I didn't know till later when I was talking to my buddy Zach that like there were so many people in that room watching. I might have been even more nervous in the game. Like, actually, I was completely calm in game 1, game 2, but game 3 was just a nightmare.
Well, you were racing the clock too, so
as I said, a nightmare. But it was kind of cool, like to know that was like an experience that got to happen. Like we've never had that anywhere in any event we've had, to any degree like that. So that was cool that everyone got to do that, like have that experience.
So other positive pieces that I saw, the stage that Z just talked about, that was well set up. It was well lit. It was easy to be able to see when you were next to it. It was also easy to see from the screen. I'm curious for those who are at home, what the casts looked like for you, but it looked great from our end on the video footage and right next to it. So amazing job to all the streamers who took a ton of time and put out the content there. It just was really, really neat to be able to see. And I thought that section was very, very well done.
I do want to comment on that too, because I was talking about this with my wife today, actually. When we were on the stage, because I've been at a top table before. I've been in a situation where lots of people are like staring, huddled around you. And like hopefully all of us out there that are listening get to experience that one day. It is quite surreal. But like until that event Sunday, like you literally feel it. Like you feel the crowd because they are actually relatively close to you. and it's nearly impossible to block it out. So like you have to just kind of deal with that additional layer of pressure. Because we were on a stage, there is actually a good amount of distance between Nova, me, and the crowd. So we're like, game 1, game 2, like nothing existed other than the Crucible, my buddy Nova, and us playing Keyforge the best we can. And like that was great. Like having that stage in that setting was like a beyond vast improvement over the way that had been constructed before. So I do hope they keep that. I mean, I know a lot of venues literally can't support that. But if at all possible, like having that, I don't know, just an extended zone where people cannot pass, whether you're literally on the stage or not, is very helpful as far as like that goes. It was great. I appreciated that a lot.
The streamers were hardlined in, so they had great content there. They were on the other side of the wall, so you couldn't necessarily hear them talking in game. Those are all things. I mean, even when we were doing Keyforge Live, we were trying to put Ryan. We were trying to put you out in the hall.
I was in a damn hallway.
Stream. But like that
the
worked.
Quinceañeras rolling past, like what?
But they did a really, really nice job. So I thought that worked well. But again, I'm curious to see anyone who was at home. How did this stream sound and how did it look? So go ahead and post that into our Discord if you're a part of that group, and we can continue to send that information on. But awesome job there, Ghost Galaxy.
All right. As far as
TTR and 1-star peeps.
Sure, correct. 100%. It was 1-star peeps and TTR who did the streaming. And yes, but they did a great job.
As far as the running of the events themselves, I thought everything kind of went fine until we started getting people who went deep without losses. All of a sudden now find themselves losing their first game, and now they have, I mean,
It
who was it?
It was
D-House I was talking to? D-House, went like what? 4 or 5-0, 4-1, and then he gets his first loss, and he all of a sudden has this like 3-hour.
Break. He went 3-1.
Well, either way, he had like a 3-hour break in between now and his next game, just because of how it worked.
That's what I did in Archon. I went 4-1, and I had 3 hours between when I lost that game and when I was going to play again.
That's why you should just go 5-0.
Thank you, Z, for that. Great insight. I did not draw better.
Why don't you just win, Dan?
Yeah, I failed to take our advice. I mean, like, I could just, do it your guys' way and be like 1-2 and be done in 45 minutes or whatever it was.
I went 3-2. Get off my back.
I don't know what went on. But it's, the true double elim bracket leaves big gaps, but that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. All right, we got Sealed Alliance.
We actually talked about it before. Like, we talked about it in advance.
Yes, because we'd done it. We know what we were going to see. Okay, Sealed Alliance, though. So I can't talk here. I did not play Sealed Alliance.
No, I don't think
I did play Sealed Alliance.
Oh, yeah, Sealed Alliance.
Did you play in Sealed Alliance?
Yes,
kind of. I toe-dipped in Sealed Alliance. So I sat down at Sealed Alliance, and prior to this event, the worst record I have ever achieved in any like major event was 4-2. Oh, I was like, okay, I'm opening my packs. I get 2 decks, just like everyone else. The first thing I looked at, because I knew it's important, we've been talking about it like, a long time now, every week. It's like, what tokens do I get? So like, okay, I get Bot, which it's so bad at this very moment I can't even remember exactly what it does.
It's cute. That's what it does.
Walk Bot. Do you know what Bot does? The token?
The token bots. Do. Searching.
Right.
It is not important.
Gonna hook us up later. My other token is a token that we talked about on the cast. We went back and forth with. And in the end, I felt like it was going to be pretty good. And that was the Strange Shell. Strange Shell, I know by heart, is 1 power, 4 armor. It cannot fight, and it cannot reap. It has an action, return it to your hand. So, like, this is actually relatively annoying and hard to kill, especially in WoW, because most of the kill is, like, damage, and 1/4 is a lot of armor. So this is like a weird archive for specifically the merchant house, because it's a merchant token. Occasionally, you could bring one of them back to your hand if you really needed to play it later because you're sacrificing a draw. And there is a linked creature that's a 4/4. When you reap with it, it allows these strange shells to actually reap or fight themselves. In the end, at least as far as the sealed experience goes, this token does not help you because you need to gain amber to win the game. It is completely random for the most part, given my deck was sealed, what cards are hitting the table as tokens. So most of those cards are not helping me generate efficiency, even if I was able to use the Strange Shell's ability to bring it back that turn. So I got 2 real bad tokens, and we kind of talked about this. Like, if your token's not good, your deck's probably not going to be good. And that was the exact experience that I had in Sealed Alliance. I got 2 what turned out to be subpar tokens. One, like, empirically just not great. And one that we thought was going to be better. But in summation, I'm having a much harder use case for it being good than I am for realizing in most decks it is just going to be bad.
Yeah, and for our audience, bots did find so BO-T is a Star Alliance token, 1 power, action, use a friendly non-Star Alliance creature.
Yeah, the fact that it's just 1 power, easy to kill, not elusive. Its ability is actually an action ability, not a reap. You're not netting amber in almost all cases by using that other creature. Like,
better than your mollusk.
Yes, we still said it was bad. We said it was bad before, guys. It's still bad. It is probably the cutest token as far as that goes. It is a mat. We saw it in the Game Found campaign. Still probably one of the neatest looking mats.
My token was fish, and that's gonna fight it for cuteness.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe.
fish was up there.
Fish is literally a fish.
Well, anyway, I went 0-2, and for whatever reason, my second game at 0-1 was on stream. I got eliminated at 0-2 on stream day 1, which I did get to experience the stage right there, which that was my first time. Like, hey, it's been a while since I've been live streamed. Like, probably whatever last event I was at. And yeah, there you go. You can see my 0-2 devastation, and then later my win. Literally the polar opposites of Keyforge experiences, all inside of 1 weekend. So go find it on our, wherever their YouTube is.
I will actually second your top in regards to token creatures. I found that honestly, anything under 3 power really kind of went down in value. But and that's 4. A whole. Sorry, under. Well, that's what I'm saying. 3 or under. But sorry if it was basically under 4. Really had a lot less power, and we can talk about that later when we get into WoW. But that's what I kind of discovered. My alliance setup actually ended up going ahead and having. When I looked at the decks, they were honestly both pretty poor. I only had 5 printed amber in one and 7 printed amber in the other. And I had 3 amber control cards. One of those was on play. It is a good Brobnar card. The other 2 were reap effects. And it just, I was looking at what can I go ahead and work with. So I went with the cute factor. I tried to go ahead with Blorb. My deck spit out tokens. And that was how I looked at game 1. And I actually ended up facing Nova. She was also not looking really happy with her deck. And yeah, it was really, really embarrassing, guys, because she absolutely smashed me. I started by turn 1 putting down Blorb Hive, turn 2 going ahead and spitting out 4 of my token creatures, 4 Blorbs. Turn number 3 was 8 Blorbs, and then turn 4 was pretty much the end. And the reason that's the end came is that our good friend Nova had an artifact, Might Club. And Might Club says, action, ready, and enrage a creature. And what she dropped down was Fire Spitter. Our old card, 5 power, 1 armor. Before fight, deal 1 to each enemy creature. And I quickly learned that all of this, this splash damage or 1 across all creatures absolutely tears a lot of these tokens apart. And so my Blorbs, even though I could spit out creatures, I basically had a choice. Am I going to play this card that she is just, I couldn't do anything against Fire Spitter. So I had a choice of I can discard or I can choose to play cards that are just going to be spit upon by Fire Spitter and disappear. And that was it. I finished, guys. She had 3 keys, 12 amber. I had 0 keys, 0 amber.
But
there
you
was not a single thing
out.
I did.
You used that time up.
I did. And so that was game 1, and I was really pretty down, pretty depressed. Like, oh man, this is not good. But I quickly learned, and my other token, I'm like, you know what? My deck spits out creatures, so let's go ahead and let's go look at other tokens. And I went into Saurian, and Saurian, I had the Bellaton Warriors. And so my sole purpose was to just spit out as many Bellaton Warriors as possible. That is a 5 power, 2 armor. And what you notice about Blorb is Blorb can't reap or fight. Bellaton Warrior at 5/2 can reap and fight. But pretty much what I did is I spit out those creatures, said, deal with my board, and I'm going to try and race you by reaping as much as I can. And I was able to get 2 wins with that. That was a huge victory for me, and I ended up going 2-2 as soon as I found someone who had a little bit of amber control and some C. Mostly amber control was the difference.
So I similarly had a problem. So I played single deck sealed. So you guys were over there in Alliance. Or do you want to give your Sealed Alliance story quick, Wookie?
I can. Much like Ewok, printed Ember was a really big problem for me. I haven't counted the pips we know of thus far in set, but it feels like pips on cards are very much controlled by if you get cards that enhance your other cards or not. I got 0, which really sucked, which means I'm not producing really any Ember. My token,
you can reap, buddy.
I know I can reap. My 2 tokens, I got Emberling and Trader, who is also a 1 power critter, who is action steal 1, destroy Trader, I believe. That's the one I got. I don't remember if that's Trader or not.
Good.
Seems good.
No, that's action destroy him. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, action destroy him, steal 1.
Good.
Yeah, it's Equidon, action steal 1, destroy Trader.
Which, again, seems okay. Like, it can reap. First game against Philly, I went with, what did I go with? I went with Amberling, and basically my deck could just spit out critters. That sounds great. Splash attack is real. And basically, fight 1, take out 3. Your Amberlings die really quick. And you start out with this awesome board, and you'd think that, like, oh, well, they're not reaping. So, and again, the game almost went to time because of how long it was taking, because neither of us had printed Ember. And I'm thinking, well, I have Emberling. I'm just going to make Ember. And it didn't work out. Like, it was like, well, I'm going to fight and destroy all 3 of those. It's like, yep, that's a thing, and when you're spitting out so many, you got to pile them up next to each other. So, and Emberling cannot reap. So, second game, but I ended up winning that game, going on to the next game, again, finding a nice little Brobnar house, which just Emberling could not stick around. It was against Dave. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That game was against Dave, which Dave had all the printed Ember. Every single card in his deck had like 2 Ember, if not 3. And he was just like, yep, don't even care what these cards do. They don't matter, but they produce Ember. So
Dave's deck was real good.
Yeah. So his deck basically, it just produced Ember. Like, he was even in Fish House.
It did also win the event.
It did, yes.
Yeah.
But it had so much Ember, there was no way to keep up. And then I got a buy for whatever reason. Probably because I won a game. And then I went up against a Gorlami, which is actually Gorlami. He just misspelt it. And he had Brobnar, which just, again, splash damage, splash damage, splash damage. And he also had the new Brobnar card. I don't know if it, what is it, Hailfest?
Hella fast.
Hella fast.
Which
That
summons the
card's-
band.
Yeah, if you have multiple members of the band in your house, which he had 2 Brick Nasties and 2, is it Gemma, the piano player?
Dead Hammer.
Good Hammer.
right.
That gets
Oh,
Bubba busted.
Yeah, Ged Hammer is 5 power Brobnar destroyed, ready and enrage each other friendly Brobnar creature.
No, he
And-
had the one which was 2 of the one which is if one of your other or all your other friendly Brobnar gain destroyed, return them to your hand.
That is Harlem
Luke? Oh.
Harmal Atun, which is
Mhm.
5
Okay.
power. Each other friendly Brobnar creature gains destroyed. Return the creature to its owner's hand.
So stop and look at that name for a second for that card.
I'm trying to find it. That's my issue.
Harmal Atun.
Harmal Attune. Look at that
Yeah.
name for a second.
Harmal Atun.
Why does that sound so familiar?
What?
Nothing. It's an anagram for Aaron Holtum.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't put that.
I was
Didn't,
designer of Dark Tide.
didn't put any of that together, but
I
being able to go basically tutor your deck for 4 band members and
Yeah,
then
no,
play them.
Yeah.
Brick Nasty was for real.
Yeah, and then one of them's Brick Nasty, which all they want to do is fight, and
Well,
just
it
gain
gets-
Ember.
yeah. So
and their force.
it gets a little crazy. Brobnar is real for real, but we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that today. So
I am gonna say the card though for Hellafast. Hellafast action play, search your deck and discard pile, both, for up to 4 Brocken cards with different names. Reveal those cards and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck. Gain chains equal to the number of cards put in your hand in this way.
to let you get your it's your new horseman. They're
Yeah,
pretty cool.
but now you have a tutor for the horseman, which is real
you
cool.
kind of had one anyways. I mean, one of the
Well,
horsemen was his own
no,
tutor, and it was junky.
It was not a tutor.
No, it was just a recall.
It's a
But
recall,
okay,
which means
so-
it's bad half the time.
Yeah. So
Anyway, in reaction though to Sealed Alliance, like I got like eliminated super quick. Almost everyone I talked to in the event seemed like they did enjoy the experience.
Yeah, it was
As far as like the mixing the pods over just pick one, play one. And I before said I think this is an improvement on Sealed. I still agree with that. Like I went 0-2, whatever. I still have had a lot of fun playing Sealed Alliance in like our local. I think this is a fun top level event. Still,
Dan,
in
how
spite
was
of going 0-2 and getting my book.
Dan,
I
how was normal
agree.
sealed?
Alliance could be good for high level. So I played regular sealed because, well, you got to stick to your guns, right?
Because you're an old grumpy man.
I'm an old grumpy man, so I played single sealed. I had already known that I could go get my 2 decks from the other one, so it didn't impact the number of decks I was going to buy over the weekend. It was pretty bummer to me that it was single deck sealed and not even 2 deck pick one. But single deck sealed, open it, shuffle it, play it. I only played 4 games, made top 8. It only took me 4 games because I got a first round bye. Then I had 3 wins, which put me into top 8. My deck was Sanctum, Dinos, and Unfathomable, and I had a proper Unfath suite. It had control in it. So I had the befuddle, I had the good stuff. And
Good stuff.
during my first 3 games, I faced all little bitty tokens, and I had double Adult Swim and a Pale to Insignificance. These are cards that kill creatures that are 3 or lower. Or actually, Adult Swim returns all 3 or lower cards back to the top of your deck. So like all the token creatures just become cards again.
Yeah.
And then Pale into Insignificance just destroys the lowest power creature. So when I was facing these 1 and 2 power creatures, it was pretty easy to deal with. I had fish myself. My deck didn't actually make many tokens, so it didn't matter to me much. And if they killed them, I didn't care because they actually had a destroyed effect and did something. But I can't remember what I played against, but I played against a bunch of tokens that had no effect. So they'd be like, "Ha! I built my token army." I go, "Okay, put them away." And here is my Sanctum board with double Lady Lorenas and Baldric the Bold and whatever it was. Like I had like 5, I could land 5 big knights. And this set has like 2 cards that destroy big creatures in mass. So lay down your big board and just reap it out.
Yeah.
Is all I had to do. And it won me 3 games. And then my top 8 match, I played Captain Gale from the Netherlands, who ultimately won it. And we just looked at tokens, and I have Fish, and he has Berserker, and I basically said good game, because I know I have absolutely no way to deal with Berserkers. They're just, they're too big. Like, as Ewok was saying, once you get over 3 power and probably 2/3 of the creature control in this set no longer kills tokens on one play, it's hugely impactful. Mm-hmm. So I got destroyed by him. Like I got, like we're 6 or 7 turns in, I'm 0 keys, 0 amber. He's on his second key, has a full board, and I scoop, right? Because I'm just like, I'd already saw how my cycle was the couple of tokens I played. I lost a card that might have got me, like, I was trying to play to use my Pale into Significance to kill his board and then go into my Sanctum and win. But, you know, like the one game Pale went down as a token creature. The other game, I just couldn't. He kept playing creatures under his Brobnar token, so I couldn't kill them fast enough to get Pale in Significance to kill the Brobnar board. And then, like, he had token cards that generated token cards when things fought. It was crazy. Like, I got destroyed and brick nastied. I got brick nastied with Berserkers. It is spoiled on this podcast, and for real, it is real good.
Mm-hmm.
And that size matters. So the other thing, though, I played all 4 of my matches. Something you guys didn't comment on. They changed the sealed rules. We commented on it when we saw the rules. They changed the sealed rules to where you share deck lists now. Did you guys do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it, but yes.
Not a single deck list share in my 4 games of
really
sealed. You know, like I've sat down with my opponent. I'm like, if you want to share deck lists, I will. But I'm like, I don't care to. And they're like, yeah, me neither. We are true purists over there in non-alliance. We don't want to share deck lists. We don't want to play no alliance.
They buttoned up their shirts all the way to the top button.
It's supposed to be.
But I think this is great. We now have Keyforge for everyone. If you want to be a fogey like Sheep, you can go play at his event. If you want to be part of the new age of Keyforge, you can come play with me. Like it's Keyforge for everyone.
I do feel that sealed should still be hidden. I don't care if you're playing Alliance or standard sealed. I still think it should be hidden. I think you did hit on something that kind of bothered me. We talked about it. I think that it's in the works. And that was with the double elimination. There were quite a few individuals who ended up with a first round bye. And we see the tournament structure where if you win your store champ, you get a bye for the next level up. That bye actually has some pretty big significance in that tournament structure. It hurt if you went ahead and had to play in the first game and others were just taking a bye. It also really, really, really hurt you if you take a first round loss. That gauntlet grind
you go
is
from a 5-round day to like
again. We'll talk about that later.
I know
already been addressed though.
It has, but like the impact for Buddy Zach, like there are some things that they're working on, but those are some structure items that we have to be able to talk about.
Yeah,
not here.
Okay, so regular Alliance, which none of us played.
Well, wait, sealed feel like. So Sheep, like, how did you like? We're here to react to like what the experience was.
Oh,
how did you feel about playing sealed? Even though they chose one deck for this event, because that's what they advertised, we did get the tournament rules right before this, like literally.
Yeah,
the day
we'll be able to do multi-deck.
It does say that the TO chooses the number of decks, so it literally could have been any number of decks. It's up to the organizer of that specific deck. Like, I don't even know if it cuts off at 3, but anyway. Like the organizer chooses that number. So it does not actually have to be one. We already know that's been addressed. In general, how did you feel about sealed Keyforge as it was?
It's sealed Keyforge. It's fun. Set balance has got me significantly concerned for in-set play for this set because of the way the creature control works versus the tokens. You're gonna be real sad when you open any Sanctum token, except the one that's capture one on play. That one's okay. Any of the other Sanctum ones are bad. I actually, after doing this in sealed play, I don't think you're gonna want a Mars token. Any of them. They're all bad.
I thought Scientist was okay if you can get it to live. But getting your
researcher.
Researcher. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean researcher.
So researcher, 1 power Martian scientist, Omni, which is why they're looking at it. Reveal a Mars card from your hand and archive it.
So
I played against that. I killed it.
Yeah, I mean, if they have significant token generation and can get enough out to where you're not killing all of them.
I think that researcher in set, because of the splash and some of the cards that are there, they're in real trouble. But I think out of set, I think they stand a much higher chance at being successful because of their omni ability. Well, you say Kurzap, but honestly, you're not seeing that Kurzap. I think that spamming tokens. Darts. I think spamming tokens will definitely be something from this set versus out of set. But that's a whole nother talk.
We'll be talking about that on Thursday. Alliance. None of us played in Alliance.
So I think Alliance, interesting thing, in top 8, there was at least one deck from every set in top 8.
Yes. Well, and I think the meta in the top...
Woe doesn't count.
Yeah. And the meta in top 8, I think, was very far from what all of us had talked about, what we thought Alliance was just going to be.
Yeah, it was very different.
Really? I didn't hear that.
Out of the top 8, I think there was 4 that we... 4 of the top 8 were, some kind of... No, 3. 3 of the top 8 were some kind of OTK-driven... style, but all 3 of them were very different from each other. The one that ended up winning had nothing to do with OTK. It was entirely MM value to pip level insanity combined with jar.
Yep.
And then the other 4 were very normalized decks. They're just I went to my collection, I made an A-tier deck out of what I owned, and I played Keyforge with it. That's...
Now, I wonder if a lot of that has to do with time restrictions, too. Because remember, we only had, how do we get a month before we knew this event was out?
I mean, there's some of that, but, all of us on this cast were thinking, the most of the meta was going to be the other, those 3 decks. And it wasn't. It just wasn't.
I think Wookie is right in that people
hold
would
on.
have played more one-turn kill stuff, but they don't own a good triple Battlefleet Key Abduction deck.
Yeah.
If they owned one, they would have built it. But there's only a few we know that are good, and you have one, and there isn't
our teammate has one. Yeah, I get it. But that's something to be said. We super discounted the actual amount of these things that actually exist in the wild. Well, there really aren't that many.
You also are just talking about top 8. I mean, how many one-turn meta Jenka garbage things were in the field? I don't know.
So what was interesting? Shout out to Hater who made top 8 for Archon Alliance, and shout out to Ben the Monkey who rode up with us and we hung out with in the room all weekend long, and we've been to a couple other tournaments. Talking with Ben, I thought it was very interesting, his deck and kind of what he was going ahead and running. It was not the typical Alliance deck that I was initially imagining, but he was getting value, and he talked about the matchups with us, what he was able to go ahead and pull off. So that we can post on the actual Discord, but sometimes it's just what you run into and what you end up facing and what the counter is. Do you have that paper or do you have the scissors? Or is, those matchups really did change. I know Ben was sad when he ended up facing his top 8 match, but there were some great decks, and there's some other decks that I would see in many different collections, and I think that he played the deck very, very, very well. So that's what Alliance is.
I mean, I think it's going to be different when people have more time to plan, right? This was very short notice.
To plan, I think to play, to practice, to be able to get reps on it.
I agree with that. The more people are able to practice Alliance at a real level, you'll see it evolve. But like what I'm saying is I think it's at a state where it is not in the end going to be what we originally thought it was. Even if they add 0 more restrictions, which I think there is the chance we'll see 1 more restriction. I don't have inside knowledge on that, but I do feel like Control the Week will be restricted to like 2 cards or something. But anyway, even if we don't see that, I think the meta we saw at that initial burst is so diverse that there is room for more diversity with practice, thought, and piloting as far as like ways around different win cons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could be fine without restriction, although I will still be shocked January 1st if Control the Week is not on that list. Like, it has been one of the most, I don't know, people have been complaining about Control the Week locks since the game.
I wonder how much we saw Control the Week.
All I know of is the one deck that came in second, and there was 4 of it. It was real. It didn't end up winning, but like, it's a thing, and it's a common. So that like it's unlike some of the other stuff we just mentioned, which are legitimately hard to find in the world. It is not hard to find a deck with 3 Control the Weeks.
Yes,
probably a little harder to find 4, but there's still going to be a lot of them because there's a lot of Coda printed. But 3, I don't know. It's going to be in the thousands. There's going to be a lot.
Okay. So what do we want to say about the Archon event, which we all played in? Z1.
Unsatisfactory end.
I was in, yes, that was unsatisfactory.
Unsatisfactory.
Unsatisfactory. That's nice.
I think what really needs to be said is that Wookie and I both took it from the wormhole. That's what needs to be said.
This is true.
Goodness.
He was on the path. He was on the path. If he would have got 1 more win, he would have had to then face me. The ultimate AC boss.
I did hear that Z, you took revenge for us.
Because I was always sitting near him. And like, so as this kept happening to y'all, I was constantly listening to him like, yeah, like I just faced this one AC guy, knocked him out, faced another one, knocked him out. I'm like, he finally sits down in front of me and is like, okay, now you get to face me. Let's see how your luck goes here. And it did not go well for him.
He played very well against me. It was great. We had been talking right before the event, and then we got set up with each other. But it was great to see D-House there and to play him.
D-House played very well. I had one tough match. It was not one of them. So.
Oh, jeez.
Come on, Z.
We talked about this. I'm the mean person on this show, Z.
Yeah, come on, Z. Some people I maybe have.
D-House is a great guy.
He's a little too cocky. I'm like, you just gotta ignore. Maybe you are too cocky.
Am I?
He is.
Yes, you need a little bit more humble pie, my friends.
Guys, I've tamed way down from when I was a kid.
I mean, I had out of the deck pool that I was offered, I probably had the worst of them. I did.
Left the Cloud is not a bad deck.
No, nobody said it was a bad deck. I'm not. That's not at all what I'm saying. But out of all the pool,
is amazing.
Out of all the pool, it's good deck. But
D-House was running, he called it his party trick deck, but it was his Saurian key charge, so a Maverick key charge in Saurian with Brachus. It was a lot of fun to see, and he pulled it off with excellence. I did not have the board control that I needed to deal with, and he definitely took advantage. He saw that option, that line, and that was the difference. So I give him credit. He played the deck well, and I didn't play and draw what I needed to, so GG to him, and he took it very far. So there's nothing against him. That was me.
I literally did say he did play very, very well against me. My deck teched very, very good against his deck. I guess I do need to clarify that. Like, I was playing a deck that was very, very strong about a combo that he was trying to pull off. It would be very, very hard to win that match without a lot of luck. And it did not come to him.
All right, let's move into Unchained. Unchained was...
react. I had a blast in Archon, obviously. Archon's always been what it is. If you want like the best players playing the best decks that they can, seeing what happens, that's always what single Archon's been advertised as. I think that's exactly what we saw.
I am with the need to cycle decks out, though. There's a lot of similar stuff in this field that I've seen before. Oh, and yes, Code is still dead because I'm the only fool who managed to get one to the end.
The two decks that made top table were never seen before in competitive play.
I could have gotten Donovan to the end. Maybe not the end, but I think I could have fared similarly to what you did.
I'm just saying I'm the only fool who did it. Yes,
Donovan's real dumb.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Donovan's Knuckle Dragger Keyforge. Play cards, win game.
Thanks.
I mean, it is though. Like, it is like. I mean, there is.
Now who's throwing crap?
Donovan's a real good quadrugene job deck, but like when playing it in Kansas City, I was like, I don't even feel like I'm playing the deck. I feel like the deck's playing me. Like, just play cards and it does stuff.
You start playing against better decks, and you have to start manipulating to make things happen. Like, I can't believe how important a good library access turn actually matters in top tier games. And you can't always set it up, and it's real sad.
Yes,
when you can't, and it really matters. So it was an interesting day for me, but yeah, only one Coda deck made it into top 8. No DT and no AOA made it to the top 8 there.
Shocking.
Yep, shocking. I know they were in the field. They didn't make it.
All right, Unchained. Unchained was I want to say more of a casual format, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
You kind of found a person to play. You had your little card out. Tons of people were just like, want to play Unchained, and you kind of did, and then you reported. I don't even know what I want. I was more focused on getting all 4 of my decks.
So here's the only I didn't open a good deck. I opened 3 decks with Brobnar. They all had 2 of them were World Crides Brobnar, which included NARPs.
Yes.
And my third one was triple AOA, triple your guy can fight multiple times garbage. Into the fray. Triple into the fray. Oh yes. The power that I had. But that deck also had Equidon, and Equidon was pretty good. I finally won with that one, but I went 0-5, and then I won the next 4 games before I finally got my 6th loss to go and get my last deck. And then I felt like I had absolutely no reason to play Unchained. Because Z's on, at that point, 17 or some wins. I've already got all the losses I can get decks for, so there was no incentive for me to play. This is where the next thing we're going to talk about is Second Amber, which I happened to do good enough in both events. But had I done poorly in an event, and I'm sitting there with a sealed deck that didn't win games already, like, what incentive is there to me to play in Second Amber when I already have the poor deck, when there's nothing for losing at that point, right? If you lose in Second Amber, you get nothing. Once I had racked up all my losses I needed for Unchained, I no longer had a reason to play because I could get nothing for winning and nothing for losing.
Well,
Second Amber, there's always the chance you win the game, but like if you've got bad stuff, you don't, like especially in sealed, like you don't want to go play Second Amber sealed with a bad deck again. So I think Second Amber needs
some work, but I will tell you that when it came down to Unchained, I don't know if I was playing like there was no incentive for me to play good Forge or good Keyforge. There was more incentive for me to just kind of fucking wing it and see what happens because I want new deck, right? I want all 4. It wasn't like Z where I was like, I'm gonna start real good and I'm gonna nose grind to the end. And he also pulled something absolutely busted deck 1, so I mean that I'm sure doesn't hurt anything.
For Unchained, guys, was there not a second and third place though?
There was.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, there's still something to shoot for, but you may not be there.
No, there wasn't.
There wasn't.
When you're
I don't feel like there was
5 wins on Sunday, and third place was 17 at that point too, or whatever it was. It was pretty close. Like you knew you were. It's pretty easy to know you're out for racking up first, second, or third.
I agree.
So I'm just saying, like in this kind of event, to entice continual play, like. They should have had I'm fine with there being a first place and even a second and third place prize, but then since they were doing tickets and handouts anyways, like why not be giving those out for wins and losses in that to keep playing? Like so maybe they only give out 4 things and still your chances are super low to get anything, but at least you have a reason to play. Right?
Well, and again, like I'm wanting my decks. It's Sunday. I've only gotten 2. I've only gotten 2 by that point.
Yeah. So then
I want my 2 more, so I'm very incentivized to lose. I'll tell you, there was a couple of games there that like I probably could have pulled, but I just was like, but why? Like I need the decks.
So here's my suggestion with the tokens with the tickets that you'd get for second Amber. Just do that for whoever loses. So you have a chance.
No, because now you're playing to lose.
Yes.
So then go ahead and give them what? 2 tickets if you win in
2
one
tickets
ticket if
for
you
a win,
lose.
1 ticket for a loss.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So there's a random random drawing.
Before we get into that, let's talk about second Ember a little bit, right?
Wait, I didn't get to talk about Unchained. For me,
you talked about Unchained.
Yeah, you talked about
Unchained. This was the most fun event I've played in any.
Yes, going 23-3 is way fun. We understand. Okay,
I got to meet 26 people. I got to see 26 crazy wild decks.
Name them. Give us all their names. I want every single person.
I can't give you one name.
Exactly. Well, you can't because you and I
don't even know the name of the deck I played. I never even read the names of decks. Means nothing to me.
Okay. So I mean nothing to you. Thanks. See, you and I played.
Here's a thing.
Wait, what's your name?
Yeah, exactly. So second Ember. Let's get into second Ember. So second Ember.
I think it was great. It was genius. Thank you, GG, for making this an event. I hope to see it revised in some kind of way in the future.
So you're hitting on something that's key to Sealed Keyforge. Is you get something that's fun and good. You have a good time. You get
something junky and bad.
You get a turd and you don't have fun, right?
You're thinking about your life choices.
Which, depending on the length of the event, like in a 3-round event, it doesn't matter. You get the turd, you play it for 3 rounds, you go home. But in something this big, right, or on-chain where you could play 26 games in a weekend, like getting turds makes it sad. So then they have to have a reason for you to play your bad decks, right? That's my opinion on the situation. And as now we go over to second Amber, which did anybody here actually play a second Amber game?
I did.
I signed up for one to get a deck, but I did not play.
I signed up for a sealed alliance to get my 2 decks, and even when I signed up, Jeremy's like, "You're never going to play this, are you?" I'm like, "Nope." He's like, "Well, okay, give me my 2 tickets." So I mean, they knew
funny, he
people
knew you
were
wouldn't
just
be
signing
playing
up.
it.
Well,
yeah, I mean, of course we were. Like, I played 1 second Ember game, and it was against JM. So, I mean, he was there. We were talking. But second Ember was an event where it was, I think, it was extremely casual. I don't think there's any other way to say that. So basically, it was find somebody else who's in second Ember, play, report. Find somebody else who's in second Ember, play, report. And you can continue this as long as there are people in second Ember, which felt very strange to be like, oh, this is second Ember, like this is the tournament, right? Like I almost would have rather have had pods running and played in a pod than been like, oh, are you in second Ember for sealed? Oh, let's play.
I second this 100%. Because of the casual nature, it was very easy to tell who wanted to play Unchained. You had something that identified, but there was nothing to identify the second Amber players. So you're just kind of walking around and everyone's trying to play Unchained and you're like, do you want to play second Amber? Like it was way too casual. I would have preferred a pod. I actually saw a pod sign up for Sunday and I didn't see or hear anything run. And I think that was a miss.
Fire.
But that
you want to know a pod fired on Sunday?
Yes, Shredder, because you guys ran it. But I'm saying that it was missing a loud, it was voice of, hey, we're going to be running this event. Sign up now. Oh, we're at 8 players. Let's call it. Let's run it. There was missing that loud presence of organization.
Was missing that you actually got to buy another deck. So when people found out, I was like, oh, I just play with the decks I already got. They were all like, I'm out. Right? Like, I can go play with this deck I already opened wherever. I don't need.
There would be like pods in the future. They did that because they obviously want people to sign up to buy decks. Like that was pretty clear.
Yeah, but it's.
But if you give me the choice between
this one, that's the problem.
But if you gave me the choice between second Ember and a pod, I'm gonna go play a pod.
Yeah, absolutely. Like especially on the sealed day. So I feel like on the Archon day, second Amber is kind of like we didn't meet up, but I want to run my Archon versus your Archon. Let's bump chests and act stupid against each other.
Like
and
the
play
fact that there's no
against each other, but there was not. It didn't. It was not easy to find the person, and like most people after they lost twice, they're actually more in the mood of like, I don't want to play that anymore. I want to go do something fun.
Right.
Yeah, when I went 0-2 day 1, I played Unchained the rest of the day, and on Friday night, I left 10-0.
And I will tell you the lack of structure, and I think I told Jeremy this, like, we're gamers. Don't leave us to our own devices. We're terrible at it. Like,
I don't think that is true at all. Like, we are gamers who have been to events. We do not need hand holding. You just need clear, concise areas to find your information, and that didn't exist either. It was, where do I go next? Well, it's on challenge. Like day 1, there wasn't even scanning things for challenge. Day 2, they finally put up the QR code so you could just get them. Like, it was just not easy to figure out what you should be doing there because there wasn't clear, this is A leads to B leads to C. It was just kind of like, there's stuff happening, you figure it out.
Well, and the fact that there's like no structure, right? There was no structure to second Ember besides go find your person. It wasn't like you will be at this table.
Tables.
No, they did, but there was no like you play this person. You sit down, play a game. Hi, I'm Wookie. I'm Dan. Like there was no structure to it, so it was just like it just felt very like it almost reminded me of the OG Pokemon leagues that you would just show up to and you just play games, and then like the tournament director would stamp your badge, and then if you got enough that month, you'd get the gym badge, right? And it was just, I don't know, it felt very off. The lack of structure for me was a huge turnoff. I'm like, I don't want to go find somebody to play.
I think what you were encountering there is second Amber, when you looked at the number of people signed up, they said it isn't worth us structuring this for the 7 people who have signed up, right? When you look at the actual list of people who said, I want to play second Amber, it didn't look that long. So they said, why invest our time into it? Now, had 40 people signed up for it, they probably would have done something more structured. But because there's like 7 people, they're kind of like, well, obviously this isn't that big of a deal. Why invest our time on it? Because they were already stretched pretty thin.
Yeah,
that was the piece that you're talking about there.
Yeah.
The staff, again, they did a phenomenal job, but there was so few staff that they were very, very spread. They were spread extremely thin, and they were limited with what they could do. So that is an area that they just need more help with in the future.
That was to the point where anytime anyone needed to take a break, go to the bathroom, get food, like there was a hole in like somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like someone wasn't there.
And having run Keyforge Live, you have to build that in. You have to be able to give your people breaks.
I made a very comprehensive schedule.
You did a great job with that.
Yes,
like
you did.
You could see that's something that will need to change for the future.
Do we want to talk about the overlap here or save that for Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay. Shredder was ran. I believe a Unchained deck and a WoW deck were shredded.
No, it was just 2 WoW decks.
All right, so
it was my top 8 sealed deck that I shredded.
I
Wow.
I thought we were gonna hear more crying, but we didn't. We only.
Ewok, did you know this?
Yeah, he did it behind my back, and I came and like fake punched
And then
him.
he hugged me.
I posted
Yep.
it on. I posted
Because
it on
that's-
the Twitter.
That's
I did
what
not
you do.
know this.
Yep.
Wow.
And then after I shredded it, I brought it over to Jeremy. Well, Jeremy wasn't there, so it was the other guy, and I returned
Michael?
it and told him it was I think it's just the Game Center employee who
Oh,
was
okay.
running the booth at that point. I returned it and told him it was defective.
Can I get a new one? This one's broken.
It came out of the pack this way.
It's just falling apart.
What is this card that has Sharpie written in the shredder?
Nothing.
That's a weird printing error, dude.
Yeah. Nothing. Don't look at that.
I will say for all of the Keyforge players who could not make it to Keyforge Celebration, they're very upset at you, and you will have to deal with the shame
why?
and
Because
pain from it.
they don't have a deck that they can't play anywhere right now. Like
Correct.
What does it
100%.
matter? Like it just you can't even do
Play
anything.
them anywhere. What?
You could
I-
play it with
about-
your.
I did post.
You have local frenzy. The rest of us are in nowhere land, and we play online, and we can't play our decks online.
Well,
made a choice.
I'm sure that'll be fixed at some point.
I did
So-
post the deck. Oh, there's a video of some sort that X-Ray must have taken. I did post a picture which was almost too perfect. Somebody had alerted JR to the fact that decks were being shredded. Sheep immediately looks over his shoulder, and Ewok are like glaring at each other. It was it was the kid who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. It was fantastic. Actually, X-Ray just posted it in Keyforge. It was pretty good.
But no
I'll
one
post
was
it on our
punched.
Instagram too. We have an Instagram now, guys. Did you know that?
And yes, actually, we give the shout out to Yo-Yo Milkworm.
Oh.
He shredded the first WoW card.
He sure did. Whoa.
Face punch incoming.
Yep. Keyforge Adventures. This was happening all weekend. JR, you had met a Keyforge friend that literally all they did all weekend was jam Keyforge Adventures games.
I
Talk to
was
us about
actually
that.
surprised. There was a very different crowd that was there. There was an individual that I met, happened to be another teacher who had taught. He was one of the local guys from Minnesota. But previously, the previous year, he had been teaching over in Japan, and just nice conversation going. But him and his two buddies, they were crashing. They didn't play a single alliance. They didn't play a single Archon. And so I do think that Keyforge Adventures has a place. That's what him and his buddies played. And there was a nice, steady flow of individuals playing Keyforge Adventures. So it was pretty interesting to see how that was kind of being run. GG did run into a little bit of an issue, as if you beat the Key Racken, the goal was to increase the power for the next group. However, they had multiple mats that were laid out, which is awesome. Everyone's able to play. But how that was communicated, again, communication was kind of a letdown. What ended up happening is they told him to go back and start over. And if you're already 40 minutes in or near the end of your game, that just doesn't make sense. I think an easier response is, hey, just add 10 and move on. But how that was reported, my understanding, because Z, I took you to the airport, is that Keyforge Adventures actually didn't end up showing up in the final closing ceremony at all, which is a little bit of a bummer because that was something that was advertised that you were working towards.
I never had time to play one, but I did I like Nova, and I briefly mentioned to Nova, like, we need to do that, like at the very end after it's at whatever power it was supposed to be, just like walk over and crush it with our battle, like our 3 decks, right? Like because of when the timing ended, obviously we did not have time to do that. But I did want to try to beat the Kurakin at whatever the final health of the boss ended up being. That is something I was on my list to try. Didn't happen. Timing was a thing. So, oh well. Maybe
all right, let's get to the closing ceremony. Ceremony is a loose term.
I did get to see this.
So the closing ceremony, more or less, was these are the people who won, which was nice to a degree, but that was it. I mean, there was some technical difficulties, so we don't know if there was more planned. But the closing ceremony literally was, Sealed Alliance, such and such won. regular sealed, such and such one, and that was it. So there really wasn't much in the closing ceremony. If you missed it, you didn't miss much. That's how I felt.
I will intentionally miss it next time.
Yes. That's when they'll do stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, okay, I'm willing to risk mine so everybody else can get a better closing ceremony.
You're willing to risk that hour in the drive home?
Because Sheep's not there, it will be all out.
Well, unfortunately, there was a little bit of a precedent that was set. I think that the idea of being behind consistently from Friday through Saturday and Sunday, and Z, that puts you in a really rough spot for anyone leaving. It wasn't just you, but there were people waiting for their planes. And honestly,
there were many people who top 8'd, top 4'd, won that weren't there.
Lots. There were quite a few people like, and that person has already left, and this person has already left, and this person has already left.
Yeah. So the two things that I would say, if you have main events, you have to be able to play those out. It created some really uncomfortable situations for individuals who were in sealed. They had to make a choice. Am I going to play in sealed top 8 or am I going to play in Archon top 8?
Which we will talk about tomorrow.
I understand that, but that's something that can be cleaned up. And then the idea for you need to start and stop on time. So add extra time, start earlier, no matter what it is, because when someone has a flight, they have to leave.
That's what it was, right? I mean, I don't know, because it was very much like, oh, we're going to start at this time. And it did feel like they had planned 45 minutes round. Everything will be done in 45 minutes. Moving on to the next one. It's like, I don't know if you know that's not how this is going to work.
We'll talk about this more too, because we talked about on this show about the timing problems that were potentially going to be there for Friday night,
and they were
exactly like what happened. I mean, again, a lot of this literally has already been addressed. They were very receptive of this feedback. So hopefully we won't see this again. Unfortunately for me, yes, I did have to catch a flight, and that we will talk about that, of course. This is the second time this has happened to me, because the last time this happened to me, the final started 2 hours late that day, and ta-da, I was there, had to leave. But anyway, we'll go through all of that. Overall, I think this is our initial feels cast. Initial feel from these 3 days of Keyforge. In total, I think I ended up playing somewhere between 42 and 45 games of Keyforge. It was a lot. I had a blast. Everyone that I talked to was pleasant, excited, hopeful. I mean, I don't know how many other words I can use to say this. If I needed any more convincing that this game was truly back, this nailed it through and through. I think the future of Keyforge, if it is assuming even half of the things that we believe are already being addressed are going to be addressed, I cannot wait for 2023 and all of the things to come.
The biggest thing I will say is that a lot of Keyforge was played this weekend. This brought a community together, which I think is something we desperately needed.
Biggest event in the U.S.
How many people were there? Did we get a total, how many people were there?
I think someone said 200.
But there wasn't. It was 118 and 38 for the one event. So there were 156 and 151. One day was 156 people in the events, and the other day was 151.
Okay.
And
there were more.
Sealed had more than Archon,
which I think it typically does.
It's usually Friday versus Saturday. Wow.
Right.
Yeah, but there were slightly more sealed players, but it was 151 and 156 is the numbers I'd come up with.
We will talk. I mean, I guess that was all the players that actually played. I don't know how many people actually just showed up and didn't play in anything.
Someone told me it was close to 200, which isn't more than Gen Con, but it would make it second to Gen Con.
Yes. But we will go over more of some of the things that we found out over on Thursday's episode. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their week today, because we want to give the breakdown of the event and kind of our initial reactions. Now we'll get into some, the good, the bad, and the ugly is probably on Thursday's episode. And again, like Z said, a lot of this is already in the work to be fixed. So I don't know, take it with a grain of salt. But I think everyone was a little rusty. We haven't had. GG's never run a Keyforge event before, so we kind of got to give them some slide there. We had 2 judges, which I know have judged before, but I didn't know either one.
Marcus has been at a lot of events.
Has he?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
look familiar to
recognize
me.
Marcus as a judge. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't look familiar to me. But either way, like, even then, you got to cut them some slack. When's the last time they judged? 2 years ago?
This is true.
So we got to cut them a little bit.
No one has ever judged WoW, right?
Right, which was another problem that I kind of foreseed happening because, like, are all the interactions fully tested? What happens when an interaction comes up? And we don't know what happens then. I guess, again, we'll figure out. We'll get more into the good, the bad, the ugly come Thursday. So, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. Anything else before we get out of here?
Super
take
pumped
silent.
for the future of Keyforge. Let's go.
All right, let's go. And we'll see y'all actually on Thursday.
May the forge be with you.
I used that in a tweet today.
Oh my god.
One thing on my mind is to get my party on. You can't stop, brother. No. 24/7, 365 a year, and we know the end is near. You can't stop me, no. If this was the last dance